traditional authorship and first and third person characterization in the Gospels, analyzing Matthew 9:9 and John 21:24. Big thanks to Bram Rawlings for helping me out on this topic. Definitely check out my blog and see some of his articles on there. In the last video, we addressed the accusation against Messianic authorship due to the third person grammar used in 9:9. In this video, we'll be talking about John 21:24 and first person plural vocabulary relating to authorship. This is a rather common objection as seen in this comment. Bart Ehrman remarks, at the end of the Gospel of John, the author says of the beloved disciple, John 21:24. Note how the author differentiates between his source of information, the disciples who testifies, and himself. We know that his testimony is true. He/we, this author, is not the disciple. He claims to have gotten some of his information from the disciple. However, I think this is an oversimplification of John 21:24 and first person plurals. Let's take a look at the passage. This is a disciple who is testifying to these things and has written them, and we know, that his testimony is true. This disciple is the disciple whom Jesus loved in 21:20. These things, tauta, most likely refers to the entire gospel in the light of verses 21-25. There are several possible grammatical uses of oidamen. The associative we, as in I and you, the dissociative we, as in me and my colleagues, and C, the authoritative testimony, as in we as a substitute for I, or the plural of majesty. Notice how none of these options exclude the author of John being the beloved disciple. If the verb is used in the associative sense, it could be referring to the author and his readers, or an appeal to common knowledge. If it is dissociative, it could refer to the author and his colleagues, in this case, the beloved disciple and Jesus' other disciples. And obviously, if it's the last option, then it is self-reference. Whilst I think the associative verb here makes a lot of sense, Richard Bauckham, drawing upon an earlier study, argues rather compellingly that the we should be seen as authoritative testimony. For the sake of brevity, I will save his argument for another video. Alan Culpepper objects to an authorial plural understanding of the we by highlighting the grammatical difficulty of the changing role of the author. In his view, 21:24 reveals several redactors within the Johannine community. He writes, it is unlikely that readers would understand that this disciple, we, and I, in the scope of these two verses, all refer to the author. In reply, Charles E. Hill points out, there are two Johannine passages in particular that offer important comparisons, where not only are there shifts in a speaker's pronouns, but where we arguably have real examples of Johannine authorial plurals. Essentially, quick shifts between persons are common in Johannine literature. For example, when Jesus is speaking to Nicodemus, he switches from first person singular to first person plural to third person singular in the span of 4 verses. Similarly, the elder in 3rd John switches from first person singular to first person plural, back to first person singular, and ends in first person plural. It is highly implausible that in these two passages the speaker does not include himself within the first person plurals, as the conventional model argues. In conclusion, the we used in 21:24 does not disqualify the beloved disciple as the main author of the Gospel of John.